What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs have done a phenomenal job staying afloat and really staying ahead, right? Like, you lose those two Warrior games, right? Victor Wembanyama goes down, Stephon Castle goes down, you don't have Dylan Harper. You're in such a tough spot. De'Aaron Fox is just getting back, so it's like, he needs to find his footing. He needs to kind of find where he fits in on this team and stuff. And it was timing couldn't have been worse, right? And you're coming off of two losses, and you easily could have seen this team just fall apart. Young team, off to a historic season, literally, greatest start to San Antonio season ever, off to a historic start to the season, and then all of a sudden things just start crumbling down. And you easily could have just said, hey, they're a young team, this is going to happen, it is what it is. Maybe you go on a run with Wemby and everyone comes back, right? But they didn't, right? I mean, again, they've done a phenomenal job. You bounce back off of those two Warrior losses by winning 3 straight, right? And finishing the homestand in a positive, finish the homestand 3-2. Then, on top of that, you go now on a 4-game road trip, right? And that alone can be, again, this road trip is brutal. Right, you got Suns, who smacked it twice now. Then you got Portland, who has some very notable wins. They've actually been a pretty solid team this year, right? They're kind of averaging out a little bit, but they, again, started out pretty well. Again, have some notable wins against teams like Denver, OKC, right? I think they're the only ones that beat OKC so far. Right? So, again, game on the road, could be tough, could take that L. And then you got Denver, and it's like, dude, Denver's one of the 3 to 5 best teams in all of basketball. Right, you got the best player in all of basketball. Now you're going into Mile High, which is one of the hardest places to play in. Right, that you look at that, and then you got Minnesota to round out that road trip. You're looking at this, and you're just like, man, this could be disastrous for the Spurs. And then, like I said, they rattle off, finish the homestand strong, actually come ahead on the homestand. Now you go into this road trip, and you got 1 game left on this road trip against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and right now, you're 2-1 on this road trip. And I even talked about, look, if they could at least finish 2-2, to me, that's a win. Right? Given no Wemby, no Castle. I mean, even if this team was fully healthy, this is a tough road trip. But for them to, again, come in and be able to really start to play, and I talked about, this, Wemby being out, Castle being out, right? Dylan Harper, I know he's been back the last 2 games, but even Dylan Harper being out for some of those games, it forces guys to now have to play the level. It forces guys to have to step up, right? Fit in or get left to the side, right? And you're seeing guys like Devin Vassell finally starting to come into his own, right? He's finally starting to look like the guy that at one point was looked at as the franchise cornerstone, right? And then on top of that, you have guys like Julian Champagnie stepping up. Harrison Barnes has been all reliable for this team. De'Aaron Fox, I think, is really starting to find his footing. Right? I've talked about, right, the balance, the playmaking. Right? Yes, we need De'Aaron Fox to score the basketball, obviously. Right? You don't have Wemby, you don't have Castle, you don't have these. You need him to be aggressive. You need him to find his shots. He even talked about, when he first came back with Castle and Wemby, talked about how, you're probably best to just kind of let him be your 2 guard, right? Just let Castle, he's been your primary ball handler. He's been the guy that's been making the plays and stuff. A little turnover happy, but again, he's year 2. I'm not too worried about it right now. Obviously, that's something Spurs as a team need to clean up the turnovers, right? Spurs as a team have not been taking great care of. Denver game was different, but in general, right? Spurs have not done a great job. They had that game where they had against Phoenix where they had 17 assists and 19 turnovers, right? You're not winning very many games that way. You got to do that. And I talked about it. I called it out and was like, hey, De'Aaron Fox in particular needs to share the basketball. You need to, yes, find your footing, be aggressive, but you also need to be able to make plays. You need to keep these guys involved. You need to keep these guys invested. Force these guys to have to play the level. And then, when they start playing that way, which they are, but when they start playing that way, and then you get Wemby back, and then you get Castle back, and then Dylan Harper gets more comfortable out there, and his minutes start to go back up and stuff like that. And now you have De'Aaron Fox playing at a high level, balancing things out and stuff like that. Now, all of a sudden, this team is a completely different team. This is a good basketball team. Again, they went on the greatest start in franchise history, right? They took back-to-back losses, responded with going on, 3 or 4 game win streak. Then Fox comes back, right? And then Wemby goes down. And then Castle goes down. And you don't have Dylan Harper. And then, again, they just keep winning. They keep finding ways to win. And they're hanging around and they're staying within games and stuff like that. Again, losses are going to happen. How do you respond to losses? How do you bounce back? How do you again, this was very easy for the Spurs to just crumble and fall apart. No, you got to credit the players, you got to credit the coaching staff, Mitch Johnson, right? I've been critical of him. I've defended him, right? Like I've kind of, I think I've been very fair with Mitch Johnson, but this is something that I really do think he deserves a lot of credit. The coaching and the coaching staff has these guys prepared, has these guys ready, has the game plan worked out, right? He's really, I wasn't really a fan of his last season. I actually thought he didn't do a great job last season, but like I talked about in the offseason, right? I'm willing to give him a chance. I want to be fair, right? Like last year was just a weird situation, right? Pop goes down and it's like, okay, like, is he coming back for, like half the season was like, is he coming back? What's going to happen? And then you have the other, medical scare. And then by that point, it's like, season's already halfway over. You're falling behind the 8 ball. And then Wemby goes down. And then you go trade for De'Aaron Fox. Or we'll trade for De'Aaron Fox. Then Wemby goes down. We all know the time, right? And then you had like this weird, because you promised Chris Paul. So it was like, it was just this weird season. It was this weird run. And yet you were able to go into this season and now implement the things that he wants to implement and get this team playing the way that he wants them to play. And it's been impressive, right? Like you can't have it both ways, right? If we're gonna praise the team for their success and preparation and all the things, and the coaching staff has to be involved as well, right? We get and vice versa. If they're not prepared and they're falling apart, like again, coach staff's got to figure that out, right? But again, this was at the end of the day, it does fall on the players, right? I'm a big player plays the games kind of guy, right? You have the best coach in the world. But if you don't have the players, it means nothing. I mean, Greg Popovich is one of, if not the greatest coaches ever. And he missed the playoffs the last 7 seasons, right? Does that mean he's just now a bad coach? No, it's because he didn't have the players that could get to the level. This team is stacked. They're deep, talented, they're young, they're athletic, they're versatile, they defend, you have guys that can hit shots. It's a basketball team, a really good basketball team. And it's been great to see this team really be able to stay above water. Right? Because this is a team, again, that could easily have started to sink a little bit or just, barely stay afloat. So far, again, they're really head and shoulders above water right now, and it's been very impressive. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.